Well, you've likely seen some of Donald Trump's fiery exchanges at the National Association of Black Journalists conference on Wednesday. The former president is still not backing down from his remarks at the event. We bring in Janiyah Thomas now, who still is in Chicago. She's director of Black Media Affairs for the Trump campaign. Janiyah, we appreciate your time. I want to start off with a housekeeping matter. What was the cause of the delay at the event? It came up a few times. I was hoping you could iron out why it started late.
Yes, there was an audio issue going on. The microphone wasn't working. That was the initial start of the delay.
There was no issue of negotiations. It was purely technical?
Yes, it was surely technical.
All right, so wondering if this was the strategy from the jump, if the former president decided to, question the vice president's biracial identity at the National Association of Black Journalists conference in particular.
Mm-hmm. I think that the question was racially targeted, and I think he responded in a way that is along with the common sentiment of a lot of Black voters. If you get on social media or you look into YouTube, like a lot of Black voters are saying the same things that he said. You know, I said the issue mainly isn't whether she's Black or what her ethnicity is. The issue is the flip-flopping. You know, it's convenient to be Black, and then when it's convenient for her, she's Black. When it's convenient for her, she's Indian. It's just the back and forth flip-flopping and not being able to stand her ground on what her actual ethnicity is.
If I'm understanding the answer correctly, you're saying it was maybe organic based on the questioning and not something he walked into the ballroom itching to say?
Yes. No, I think it was definitely because of the question, the way the question was framed. And initially they asked her about they asked him about her being a DEI hire. And Biden himself has basically called her that in some form, saying that he had the most diverse administration. And it starts at the top of the ticket with the vice president. And even before that, when he was choosing a vice president, he said, I'm putting a Black woman as my VP.
How was the reaction in the room when a former president is questioning biracial identity of somebody else? Was it received poorly in the room?
Whether people want to believe it or not, there was a lot of laughter in the room. I mean, a lot of the journalists found it funny because, like I said, if you dive into Black Twitter, that's what most people are saying right now and have been saying about her in the recent years, I was like, so everything he said wasn't crazy compared to the stuff people were saying on social media.
And about most people, but let's put a pin in that. I want to talk about the reaction to it from other Republicans, other legislators. Let's take a listen to what Tom Tillis of one of those battleground states, North Carolina, had to say about the former president's comments. Take a listen.
I think anything that takes us away from the failure in the economy, the failure at the border, and the failure on national security, in my opinion, is a distraction.
If fellow Republicans in one of those battleground states says this is a distraction and the former president should move past it, do you think Donald Trump's going to move past this issue and turn the page on it?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you've seen his Truth Social post today, he has been posting about the policy issues around her being terrible at the border, being a border czar, her being soft on crime, her terrible economy that she's been a part of with Joe Biden. He's been posting about that on Truth Social all day. So I think, yes, of course, he's going to move past it and focus on the policy issues because at the end of the day, her race and gender have nothing to do with why she's a terrible candidate.
And a number of Republicans also wondering how this expands the tent. No longer in a base or primary election. It's a general election with particularly diverse battleground states. Who do you think he's welcoming in that wasn't already in his supportive tent to begin with?
I mean, I think the overall point or the main takeaway that we should take away from this event is at the end of the day, he showed up. And I think that says a lot to voters that he showed up knowing he was going into a hostile environment and was willing to fight and answer the hard questions. I think that he deserves enough credit for that. And I think that also, he was put into a situation where the initial question set the tone for the entire rest of the panel. So, I mean, that question made the entire thing about race. But I think at the end of the day, what Black journalists care about and what voters care about are sometimes not always the same thing, I think a lot of voters they did a disservice to voters by targeting him on the racial thing so much and not really getting a chance to really talk about the policy issues. And I think that was a disservice to voters because I think a lot of Black people want to hear about the tangible items of what he has done and what he can do for Black America.
Seems to be some agreement between the former president's supporters and his detractors that It was an illustrative event. Janiyah Thomas in Chicago. Thank you very much.
Thank you.